the most feared Hell's Angel. Ever district celebrations unfold while police look on, powerless. Their failure to pin down specific crimes played a role in their inaction. Economically, he is well established, making it difficult to push back against his influence. One name echoes through the underground world of motorcycle gangs, a realm where rebellion meets brotherhood. This is the story of the most feared Hell's Angel of all time. Step into a world where danger is a constant companion, loyalty is always tested, and freedom knows no boundaries. Prepare for a gripping story that uncovers the man behind the myth, a figure etched into outlaw history as the ultimate symbol of power, rebellion, and the biker code. For decades, the Hell's Angels have battled across generations, cultures, and with violence. From 000 to 032, we focus on Frank Hanebuth, an infamous figure who dominates the local nightlife and has influence in elite social circles. In the summer of 2017, he married near Hanover, celebrating with a festival reminiscent of folk traditions. A former boxer, Hanebuth is the most well-known Hell's Angel in Germany. His crew owns bars, brothels, and gyms, and maintains strong connections with civil society. Hanebuth is as capable of running a business as he is of taking part in criminal activity. His accomplishments in both worlds are rare. However, recent shifts in the biker scene have affected him. Still, Hanebuth remains the leader and most recognized Hell's Angel in the country. He serves as a link between the upper class and the criminal underworld. High-profile figures like lawyer Guts von Fromberg celebrate his birthday. He was even the best man at former Chancellor Gerhard Schröder's wedding. Hanebuth is known for beer, cigarettes, and the roar of Harley engines. He's the unofficial mayor of the nightlife scene. Tens of thousands attend red light events sponsored by Beck's Beer and Bild newspaper. But tensions run high. How long can he move freely through Germany? Will the group compromise or fiercely defend their status as Europe's most powerful biker gang? The Hells Angels and Bandidos have long fought as both allies and enemies, often violently. These two outlaw motorcycle clubs are in a brutal war for control. It began in 2007, leading to chaos and destruction. Authorities began targeting Hanebuth, and the Hells Angels rapidly recruited young men to boost their ranks. Hanebuth wasn't spared. A man named Stefan R., involved in murder, turned state's witness to reduce his sentence for human trafficking. He testified that the Hells Angels had tortured and murdered a Turkish man known as Tekin B at an auto repair shop. Despite weak evidence, the witness's testimony led to a lighter sentence for him. Later, the witness was deemed unreliable. Before a raid on Hanebuth's property, police issued warnings. During the raid, Germany's elite GSG-9 unit killed the gang's dog, even though their presence wasn't necessary. Hanover detectives were confident Hanebuth would take full responsibility for any fallout. Hanebuth himself declared he would face the consequences. Gang rivalries, betrayal, and the fall of a Hells Angels. Leader rocker bosses worry about more than just their dogs being killed. Power struggles, law enforcement surveillance, and internal betrayals threaten their grip on control. Their leader's life hangs in the balance. How far is a man willing to go for money, power, and influence? What risks will Frank Hanebuth take to survive? In 2013, Hanebuth reportedly moved to Mallorca, Spain. The notorious Hells Angels boss sought to leave behind the bleak streets of Hanover and start a new chapter. Whether it was the lure of sunshine, palm trees, and beaches, or the drive for greater power and status, the move signaled big ambitions. But his arrival on the island didn't go unnoticed. His presence in Europe's party capital had the potential to trigger violence and international conflict. He may have viewed Mallorca's idyllic beaches as the perfect place to expand his criminal operations, far from the watchful eyes of German police. Things didn't go according to plan. Shortly after arriving, Spanish authorities arrested him at a friend's finca. The charges: drug trafficking, money laundering, and prostitution. The arrest left the Hells Angels stunned. Yet after 3 years in Spanish custody, by September 2016, the police had still not been able to bring formal charges against Hanebuth. He was allowed to return to Hanover briefly for his 52nd birthday, a celebration 2 years after his 50th. Hanebuth had spent time in a high-security Spanish prison. Coming home was a moment of relief. He intended to celebrate in full biker style. Friends, associates, and loyal supporters welcomed his return. A man who started as a pub owner over 30 years ago, born the son of a teacher, had risen to the top of the European Hells Angels, using his fists and street smarts as a former boxer. But biker politics never rest. Would Hanebuth re-establish his dominance after his vacation? Would his return mark a new era for the Hells Angels, or would his enemies finally get the upper hand? The Hells Angels have never tolerated betrayal. Anyone who violates the code or breaks trust pays the price. The Brotherhood's true boundaries are unclear, and loyalty is tested constantly. One former East Berlin street thug would learn this the hard way. In these biker circles, honor can be quickly replaced by ambition. Another Hells Angel's life may be disposable if power is at stake. Some see the Hells Angels as wild rebels shaking up polite society, but beneath the surface lies brutal competition. In 2008, Holger Boston Hako, then one of the club's most powerful leaders, served as president. But he was expelled over accusations of embezzlement. Boston later attempted to return, but Andre Sommer blocked his re-entry due to the theft allegations. Then came violence. On June 10, 2012, a gunman armed with a Sig Sauer approached Singsterstrasse in the Hohenschönhausen area of East Berlin. A Hells Angels president had parked his motorcycle there. Ukrainian national Oleg Sirkasov, 36, was targeted. The first bullet hit near his heart, barely missing by half an inch. Another pierced his chest. Despite being nearly 400 pounds, Cherkasov remained conscious. His major arteries were still intact. The next bullet struck his liver and abdomen just 2 centimeters from the abdominal aorta. The final shot likely hit the 12th thoracic vertebra. Just 1 centimeter more would have severed his spinal cord. It was an attempted execution. Cherkasov was paralyzed. Responsibility was linked to Holger Boston and a Russian associate known as Michael. Their involvement marked yet another chapter in the bloody internal wars of the Hells Angels. Power struggles, betrayals, and bloodshed in the world of the Hells Angels. Holger Boston eventually confessed. Reportedly, the attack on Andre Sommer was meant as a warning to teach him a lesson. For his role in the violent assault, Boston received a 7.5-year prison sentence for attempted murder. The incident propelled Andre Sommer's reputation to new heights. But what happens when internal disputes in the Hells Angels escalate into full-blown factional warfare? How far will veterans go to protect their dominance? And how many brutal fighters does it take to sustain a 10-year coup? In Frankfurt, the Hells Angels chapter includes many migrants. One of the earliest and most notable was Turkish national Egun Muchuk. The chapter is led by Schnitzel Walter, a former butcher known for using street smarts and underground ruthlessness to build a fortune. By 2014, Muchuk had started attracting disillusioned members and began eyeing the creation of his own Hells Angels faction. Initially, Schnitzel supported Muchuk's ambitions, but later he withdrew his backing, denying him access to the lucrative prostitution and club security businesses. This betrayal led to an eruption. Muchuk and his 40-man crew stormed the Katana Club in Frankfurt. In the chaos, Schnitzel's men shot Muchuk. He survived by sheer luck. Angels had shot angels, a rare but not fatal incident. Like many large families, the Hells Angels experience internal feuds that sometimes end in exile or departure. Muchuk's power comes from immigrant networks. He has forged alliances with groups like the Ottomans and Guerrilla Nation. These connections were put on display during a boxing event in Offenbach, where his allies were formally introduced. Police referred to these men as Muchuk's life insurance, a crew that could back him up without being official members, bound by strict club rules. To skirt club regulations, he encouraged organizing semi-official units to boost street presence without granting them full membership. Issues like arrest, injury, and internal disputes were also major talking points among Hells Angels delegates at the 2016 World Run. That year, Hells Angels from around the world gathered in Warsaw to address these tensions. One key agenda item was Igun Muchuk, who had once again violated club rules. Surprisingly, he was pardoned once more. After receiving his pardon, Muchuk openly greeted police officers who were involved in past incidents, a direct violation of Hells Angels Code, which strictly forbids contact with law enforcement. Despite this, no disciplinary action was taken. The rules, it seems, had become flexible. Some believed the old guard was losing control, as long-standing rules were no longer being enforced. Muchuk continued to defy tradition. He attended the funeral of a new gang Guerrilla Nation member in Berlin, even though this rival group was in direct conflict with the Berlin Hells Angels. His presence there was seen as a direct threat. Still, Muchuk led the funeral procession. He spent 20 minutes at the gravesite, time enough perhaps to reflect on his own mortality. Hanebuth, age 45, reportedly said he didn't want to die and hoped to avoid being gunned down. But that hope was short-lived. Hanebuth was ruthlessly executed, shot 17 times at close range.